Welcome back, everyone. Thiadon here with another Nioh 2 build video. This one for Dream of the Demon and Tengu's Disciple DLC. So this added the Splitstaff and a bunch of graces, and I've run through a good bit of the content so far, and I've made an adjustment for those of you who saw my original version of this build. I've changed some things up to make it a little bit better, and you'll see the biggest change is that I've gone from elemental weapon damage increase to active skill damage increase. And so I'll get into that as we're running through the build. Basically what you're going for on this is 4-piece Spirit of Seimei, 4-piece Onmyo Austerity, and 4-piece Fukuroju's Grace. And because of that, you're going to have to use Odachi. You can use any weapon you want. You don't have to use a split staff, but I am running a split staff build here, so I just want to show you the entirety of that. But if you want to do this build with another weapon, you can. All you have to do is roll Fukuroju's Grace, which is one of the new grace sets that you got with the launch of the Tengu's Disciple, and you can anytime you craft a divine weapon or piece of armor, you can roll a random grace set bonus on that, so it can go on to any piece that doesn't already have a set bonus, and this is one of them. So Fukuroju's, the reason why I'm going with Fukuroju's is because all of the grace sets have the same 2 and 4-piece set bonuses, so this is the most useful, in my opinion, 3-piece set bonus. If you were going, like I saw P-War and Fighting Cowboy, they're both going for a damage build. This is more of a versatile build to give you a lot of skills and a lot of tools that you can use for different situations. You almost have too many, and you're relying on your status effects in order to do more damage too. And so it's a little bit of a different build in what they're going for. This one is about sort of controlling the enemy and doing as many statuses as you can to break out the big damage. Versatility for Benzaitan's Grace, if you want to do more damage, you're going to have to go up to a 6-piece set bonus at least, and versatility gives you stacking attack bonus or stacking damage bonus up to about 50 to 60%. If you manage to use 9 active skills, I think the buff lasts 45 seconds, so you have to use a new active skill, not one that you've used previously, within the 45 seconds to refresh the buff and increase the stack, so that you can stack it up. So it's a pretty good, it's a little bit high maintenance, but it's pretty good damage once you get all 9 stacks. The other one that you can do is Inari's, and I think P-War went with the Inari's Grace, and it's a good set if you want to use a talisman or an Onibi weapon buff, which is totally fine if you want to do that. The elemental weapon damage is a very high damage bonus to get, so you get 20% just off of the grace here, and you can also roll that onto your your armor pieces as well. So you can see I've got active skill damage. You can get elemental weapon damage instead, and if you have that and do talisman, you'll be doing really good damage output. But in my opinion, I like the build that I've come up with, and really the key advantage here is this having both the 4-piece bonuses from Genmei Onmyo and the Onmyo Warrior set. So for every Onmyo magic spell that I cast, I'm getting reduced defense and reduced attack on the enemy, and that's incredibly powerful because I'm also running all of the shots, all of them. So that gives me 28 shots, which can stack a status, as well as 28 shots and instances of reduced attack and reduced defense. So that's incredibly powerful. Plus, I've got Sloth Talisman, which also does reduced attack and reduced defense. So it works out fairly well. In terms of what you're going to want to roll, now for this build to really work out, because I'm also going to be running the new ninjutsu damage abilities. These are great for doing damage to packs of mobs. They're great for stacking status, and they also do a lot of damage. And so because of that, I'm going to have 99 dexterity and magic, which means it's not possible to roll on the staff. It's not possible to roll for reforging to an A minus, A minus. So you're going to go with the single highest stat bonus that you can get. So in this case, magic, the difference in attack is only about 17 points, right? So it's not a huge impact to defense or to attack to do it this way. So you might as well. And for the weapon, you're going to want to roll an imbue purity weapon and then forge that for Fukuroji's Grace. On both weapons, get melee attack key consumption and melee attack key damage, life drain on melee attack for both of them, and attack bonus either dexterity or magic, because those are your top skills. They both give the same amount of damage increase, so go for whichever one you have. I'm also going for break on the main weapon. Splitstaff is an amazing key damage weapon and great for breaking. Break also affects not only your active skills, so you can also do active skill key damage instead, but it also affects your normal attacks. And as far as I can tell, if you get a high break roll like this, then it actually does more of an increase to your key damage that you deal than the active skill percentage increase that you get. So you should be breaking just as well with this, and it's useful for just your normal attacks too. The difference with Great Kanemitsu is instead of break, I'm doing moonlets. I've imbued poison so that I can keep poison up if I want to. I'll get into that in a little bit later, and I've also got Moonlit Snow auto life recovery if I use it. I tend not to use it that much. I might later. For your ranged weapons, again, you're going to get Fukuroji's Grace. That's how you get the 4-piece set bonus with your Yasakane Magatama. And I went with bow and matchlock. The reason for that, I know you can do with a cannon, you'll do more damage per shot, and you also can temper on fire damage increase, so your fire attacks will do more damage. But in my opinion, having the additional, as you're running through and clearing a mission, having the additional ammo from running both bow and matchlock is more useful. So for both of these, what you're going to want to do is damage bonus agility. I believe only the active weapon bonus effect affects your attack and damage output, and so you might as well do damage bonus agility on both of them. I see some people do equipment lightness bonus, which can also work if you're running a really light set, and you know, that's what you want to do. The damage bonus is about the same, but it's not like, unlike Nioh, you can't have, you know, damage bonus agility on one and equipment lightness on the other and have both of them stack. As far as I'm aware, I think they changed that. Get life drain, bullseye if you can, break, movement speed, aiming, and rifle speed and bow speed up. For your armor pieces, you're going to want to temper on attack to all of them. If you get a star roll, great. I got lucky on this one, so I have melee damage. If you don't, you can temper on active skill key damage, or active skill damage rather, which will also give you a damage increase on all of your active skills, which is where you're going to be doing most of your damage as well. In order to get to A toughness, you're going to need max familiarity, and you're also going to need toughness on all of these items, plus you're going to need to run Norikabe, which is as one of your soul cores, which is how I'm managing to get A toughness. Unfortunately with this set, even with these stats, I'm still a little bit shy of what I need to get A agility, so hopefully with the next DLC I'll be able to get enough, either equipment weight down effect or enough stats to get my equipment weight below 30%. I'm almost there, but I'm not quite there. If I boost up strength, I believe I get down to about 36%. So need a little bit more to get under 30%, but we're close. But I've got plenty of capacity to temper these all to highest defense. So I've increased the defense on all of the pieces through not tempering. So if you don't know, you can go into the blacksmith, go to remodel down here, and when you're remodeling a piece of gear, you can choose which way you want to go. So I go with reinforced for all of my items, and I'm still at 38%. So I've got plenty of space to work with, even if later on the weight happens to increase even more for whatever reason. If I get it up to plus 20 or something, then I'm still able to stay within B agility. But you're going to want to reinforce on all of those, and I'll mention really quickly too, for on the Splitstaff, when you're reformatting these, if you wanted to do 2 specializations, you would just hit triangle and then select the other one, and you do that. That'd give you A minus and A minus. But like I said, it's only about a 17-point difference when you have both of those 2. So you'd have to have magic and courage both at 99 in order to get 17 points more attack. And it's really not worth it. I'd rather have the high dexterity so that my ninjutsu jutsus do more damage, and so that I can actually get all 35 jutsu capacity that I wouldn't be able to get if I had low dexterity and high courage. So for me, this is a more versatile build, and I like doing it this way. But that's how you would remodel your equipment. For the next pieces, for the trinkets, you're going to be doing Yasakane Magatama and Magatama, and that's so that you get life restore on Amrita absorption on both of these. And you're also going to get poison accumulation and poison damage, melee damage against poison enemies. And then I go with elemental damage taken as a must-have skill for every trinket that I use. The reason for that is because bosses a lot of times will do elemental damage, and they can take you out with it if you're not careful. So I can get some elemental damage taken reduction here to make myself a little bit more survivable, as well as on my soul, my guardian spirit. So I show you that next in a minute. But last thing, Scroll of the Demon. Because you're breaking the enemy's ki quite a bit with the Splitstaff, you can win them, and when you do win them, I've gotten this scroll which increases attack against winded enemies. It's also nice to have active skill ki consumption down a little bit, and the ki bonus is nice, but really it's about that increased attack. So those are all of the gear items. For the skills that you're going to want to run, or the jutsu, run 3 Sloth so that you can recast Sloth during combat, and keep in mind, once again, with these 4 set bonuses, you're getting reduced in attack and defense. For Sneak Thief and Catwalking, I just keep those slotted so that I can run through the missions more quickly. For your buffs, I have that on the second tab, so I run Barrier Talisman, Seal Talisman, Extraction Talisman, and Archyokai Talisman. And so those buffs, I wish I could have more of these, but I'm going to need more jutsu capacity. Hopefully in the next DLC I'll be able to do that. But for now, you got to make do with these. So try and use these strategically. Don't always pop them at the beginning of the fight if you know you got to clear trash first, for example. So clear the trash, wait, and while you're waiting for the boss to spawn, that's when you would toss these down so they last against the boss as long as possible. Most of the time with this build, if you do manage to stack poison on the boss, you're going to be able to finish him off before these wear out, and if not, he should only have a little bit of health left to go before they wear off, or after they wear off. For the ninjutsu, you're going to be running the new ninjutsu skills that are available with the Tengu's Disciple. So Hellfire Feathers, the 8 Cold Hells, and Thunderous Hell Feathers. Those are basically the equivalent of the ones that you had previously. So these Shadow Arts, like Raijin, Yoroka, and everything like that, these ones are over here now, right? And so these ones do more damage. They hit in a wider area of effect. and they also do more. It appears they do more status effect stacking. So you can usually with one cast get the status on the enemy, and you can, because these are bigger AOE, you can actually, if you're fighting trash mobs or 2 or 3 enemies, then you can usually hit 2 or 3 of the enemies with one of these if you line it up properly. So I really like these ones. They do a lot more damage and they're better all around. Particularly Hellfire Feathers, you don't have to wait for the feathers to kind of track to your enemy. It just explodes directly on your enemy, so that's pretty cool. And then for the last quick slot tab, I'm running each of the shots, as I said before: Fire Shot, Water Shot, Lightning Shot, and Purifying Shot Talisman. You get Purifying Shot Talisman right down here. So this is a new addition in Tengu's Disciple, and it almost, just one cast will almost always stack Purity immediately. So it's good to have those up, not only so you can reduce the enemy's abilities through attack and defense with this 4-piece, but also so you can stack Confusion. And now for the skills. So the skills that you're going to want to use for the Splitstaff are Seesaw Strike for heavy. So for heavy stance, you're going to run Seesaw Strike, Ebb and Flow, Dragon Dance, Unruly Revolution, Serpent Sweep, Radiant Move. This is your damage dealing stance. Even though you're running Law of Largesse, the reason why I run this instead of Law of Lethality is because you still do get additional hits with this for anything that does get bonus hits when you hold the button whenever you're attacking. Which is quite a few of the abilities that we're going to be using. So that'll do a little bit more damage. Plus, it makes it easier for you to stack status, particularly the elemental effects, when you have this up. So that'll make it easier for you to stack 2 elemental effects, or Purity and Fire, and Discord immediately. And I'll show you a couple of combos that can actually pull that off, thanks to Law of Largesse. Seesaw Strike, this is where I've got the fire element. So if you do a charged quick attack and then a charged Seesaw Strike, you should stack fire instantly. If you just want to do the fire, so you can get both Purity and Fire stacked that way, and get an instant Discord, or Confusion rather. But if you want to just get the fire, then you can just tap the quick attack, hold Seesaw Strike, and you should get the fire off really quickly. So that's why I put fire up there. Ebb and Flow, I just do a little bit of extra damage here. I don't use Ebb and Flow in high stance too much, but I had an extra active skill damage from stamina, so I figured I'd use it there. I could use it on Unruly Revolution, but I use Unruly Revolution to get my health back a little bit. So that's where I use Ravenous Strike. Dragon Dance is your main damage dealing ability. It also does a lot of key damage too. This is great if you can pull it off. It takes a little setting up to do, but that's why I put one of my 2 best damage bonus abilities. So damage bonus magic here, or dexterity. And you can also see I've got dexterity down here on this one, so those 2 are interchangeable. Same amount of damage increase. This is also a very good damage ability and great for breaking horns. So those are the 2 that I'm using for damage most of the time. Unruly Revolution, as I said again, is to get health back. Radiant Moon, I just reduce the key consumption on this a little bit, so that I can get it off if I need to. It's sort of like a get out of dodge if I'm taking too much damage in high stance. For mid stance, this is your key breaking stance. So Shin Crusher is in mid stance is your highest key damage ability, and so because of that, I've put the additional 28% key damage on Shin Crusher in mid stance. Shin Crusher in low stance does less key damage, but I still added the other the 5% key damage ability on Shin Crusher. I'm debating whether I want to move something else onto that, so it'd be great to be able to do, for example, Shin Crusher with lightning and stack lightning while you're breaking the enemy's key. So that's one change that I'm considering making, but for now I just rely on both of these to do key damage. For mid stance Ebb and Flow, I don't use it too much, but I figured if I do use it, it's a mistake, so I might want to get my ki back, so I'll do ki pulse. For Roar Power, this is the only place that I use Roar Power, which is the new skill that you can farm off of the final boss of the DLC. And that one, I basically just use that as sort of a ranged attack if I need it to get health back, but I'm not doing Roar Power all that often. This is sort of like an emergency maneuver. If you don't like Roar Power, you can do Shock Stopper is decent. I tend to like Shapeshift Strike a little bit more, and then you can also swap in one of your elemental effects if you want to do it in this one. But I find that my current setup lets me stack my elemental effects more quickly, so that's why I have it this way, and I do Roar Power. For Twin Phoenix, this one in mid stance is where I put Paralysis, so you can stack Paralysis with one rotation of Twin Phoenix, which is fantastic. So break ki, do a Twin Phoenix, you will paralyze them, that sets them up for Dragon Dance. So you can see how that works together very well. So that's sort of, if you're fighting against something that's vulnerable to paralysis, that's your go-to game plan. For Serpent Sweep on this one I just use to recover some health. So I use that if I've got a trash mob that I want to take out quickly, Serpent Sweep them and get some health back. Radiant Moon again is just sort of a get out of dodge ability. This one I had Imperious Strike left over, so I just put it here. Deft Counter, this one is incredibly useful for human enemies. So it gives you your parry, and then you can instantly stack Corruption on anything but a boss. A boss might take 2 hits of Deft Counter before they get Corruption, but yeah, this is great for human enemies, instantly corrupting them. So with this, I can not only get Purity, I can also get Corruption, and it just works out really well. Another option, again, is to maybe put this to Shapeshift Strike and then use Arcana of Power on Shapeshift Strike if you want to get the Corruption effect. But I find I only use that really on human enemies, so might as well do it there. For the last Shin Crusher, as I said, this is ki damage. For Ebb and Flow, it's your choice whether you want to do water or lightning. And the reason for that is because if you do hold a strong attack in low stance, you will instantly stack Purity. You follow that up with holding the button on Ebb and Flow, and you will instantly stack the elemental effect, whether that's water or lightning. So you get an instant confuse in one single rotation. Really, really powerful to do that. So a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll break the ki, then I'll go into an Ebb and Flow to do the confusion, and then I'll do Poison, which we do down here with the Twin Phoenix, and then I open up with Dragon Dance to really take them out at that point, right? So that's the highest damage rotation you're going to get. Shapeshift Strike down here I don't use too much, so I just, if I want to get more Amri to kill things, I guess I've got that skill left over so I can do it, but if I use Shapeshift Strike here, it's usually a mistake. Serpent Sweep down here is where I've got the Imbue Lightning. Again, you can swap that out with water if you prefer. This one, I just use it so that I can stack Lightning instantly without having to do a combo. This one can get interrupted a lot. Serpent Sweep, they tend not to block Serpent Sweep as much for whatever reason. Radiant Moon, again, is just a get out of dodge skill. So on this one, I just added a little bit more damage because I had it available. And then Darting Cloud, obviously, you'll pick that one up so that you can dodge during Ki Pulse. That'll still purify and everything like that, so it's a good evasive maneuver if you're in low stance. Those are all the skills. Let's get into the Shrine and Guardian Spirit. So for Guardian Spirits, you're going to run Genbu and Tengan Kujaku. Genbu is phenomenal for an Onmyo build. This is really an Onmyo heavy build. And the reason for that is you get Stalwart, which makes it so that you can't be interrupted when you're casting Onmyo magic. So you can just sit there and spam your spells. When you're doing that, you're also generating Anima, which lets you get off Otake Maru, Soul Core. And this one also gives you damage taken reduction as well as elemental damage taken reduction. So you're more survivable. And basically with these two and what I'm doing with my two talismans, I'm generating health back and I'm getting less damage taken from element. I think I get up to about almost 40% elemental damage taken reduction. So that's pretty handy. For Tengan Kujaku, I tend to run that in the second slot, and that's because the anima bonus elemental attack stacks even if it's in secondary, right? So even if you're in secondary with Tengen, you're able to get that anima bonus elemental attack. So that works really well with generating a lot of anima really quickly as long as the enemy is not blocking. For blocking enemies, that's why we have Nurikabe Soul, not only for the ability to just pummel the enemy and break their ki. So if I got an enemy that's blocking, I just pummel them with Nurikabe and it'll eat through their ki like nothing. Do a full rotation of 3 attacks. It hits really quickly and just destroys the blocking enemy's ki. But you also need this +5 toughness on the soul core in order to hit a toughness with the set that you're running. So that is why I run the Nurikabe, plus I managed to roll anima bonus on purification as well as yokai ability damage all. So pretty handy to have on that one. Then for the last one, because I'm running a bunch of poison damage bonuses on my trinkets here, so I've got poison status stacking more quickly and melee damage versus poisoned enemy increasing. It's good to run toxic slime core because they can poison the enemy, plus poison accumulation is up a little bit, and I got lucky and rolled anima bonus enemy confused. And when I'm confusing enemies, which is all the time with this build, I'm getting more anima, so I can basically spam Otake Maru as much as I want. And Otake Maru, I've also got life drain yokai ability hit, so when I do Otake Maru and the abilities do hit, I'm getting some life back. So fairly effective build. Tengen I'll swap into when I'm also running through normal clearing a mission. And the reason why I do that is because it gives you these sensors, so Kodama sensor, enemy sensor, Amrita, whatnot. Makes it easier to spot stuff on the minimap, plus the stance-based bonuses are very useful. So you can get, if you're attacking in high stance, you get attack bonus. Mid stance increases defense, and low stance increases ki recovery speed. So this is also handy to have a backup in case your buffs, your spell buffs, Onmyo buffs that I showed you earlier, these ones, barrier, steel, and whatnot, if those fall off, then you can swap over to Tengen and then go ahead and get these special effects up. So that's a good way to refresh if you need them. And if you remember. But that's a lot to digest and a lot to keep in mind. Finally, for the hidden tea house and your samurai clan.
It's always nice to see a custom. You're starting to...
Whoops, I went into the wrong one. Transfer.
Well then, I guess it can't hurt to move on.
So I am running Takenaka. And the reason why I'm running Takenaka is for 2 things. 1, active skill ki damage. Splitstaff, again, is a great breaking weapon, so the more ki damage you're going to do, the better, as well as melee damage ailing enemy. And this is a status build, and you're going to be doing a bunch of status on the enemy, and because of that, each status gets a 5% damage increase for melee. That's my understanding anyway. I tested it out. It appears to work that way. Damage did increase with every additional status that I was stacking on the enemy. And so therefore, I believe this stacks sort of with as much as possible. So let's say you had fire, lightning, and then therefore you had confused. And then this is Purity Staff, so you've got Purity, so there's a 20% bonus. Plus you've got Sloth, there's another 5, 25. Plus reduced attack and reduced defense. You're at 35% damage increase from this ability. So I like Takenaka. If I end up dying a lot, however, I see a lot of people are using Honda. So I will swap over to Honda if I'm dying too much. That gives you this damage taken halved when you're unscathed is incredibly useful because you are almost always full health with this build. And you also get active skill key damage, so you'll be doing a little bit more damage output with this one too. So it's really up to you whether you want to do more damage and more key breaking, or whether you want to do a little bit more damage but be more tanky with Honda. But those are probably the two best to use for this build. Honorable mention, I forgot to say for Soul Cores. So if I could actually do it, it'd be great. I need some more, instead of Toxic Slime, I need some more reduced attunement cost. So if you get this attunement cost down like that, I would really like to be able to slot in New Peppo for my last, my third Soul Core, but I can't. New Peppo has a very good attack buff. This Fleshy Fury will give you the Berserk status effect. So you'll get an attack increase with that, and it stacks with other attack increases. So you'd be doing even more damage with this one if you can slot it in. I don't have enough attunement. Unfortunately, I would need, I believe, one more attunement in order to make that one work. So if I do get something with attunement, yeah, just one more, then I would swap in New Peppo. So if you can do it, I recommend that you run those. Otherwise, definitely do Otakemaru and Nurikabe. That is it for the build. I hope that was informative and helpful and you guys enjoyed. Why don't we go into the dojo last really quickly, and I will just show you some of the rotations. We'll end with that. All right, so I'm going to get into low stance, and I'll just show you. Here we go. So you can see there's the key break, right? Instant key break on low stance. Get rid of him. Instant purity. Instant water or lightning or fire, whichever you want to put in that ability. So you've got an instant confused on that one. Now this guy is vulnerable, not vulnerable, immune to poison. So I'll come over here. Instant poison, one rotation there, right? So my poison damage increase will be up. And on this one, there we go, paralyzed. And I can set up my high damage ability just doing that. Right? Let's say I want to do lightning. Oh, he's dodgy, but I still got it. Right, and there we go. We've got a bunch more effects. And you can see my damage increases, right? So, incredibly versatile and, you know, useful build, in my opinion. You know, I'll show you Nurikabe as well. Oops, that was Otakemaru. I think I killed him. Yeah, I killed him. Show you Nurikabe as well. There you go. Just destroying key if they're blocking, right? Like that would have, if he would have been blocking, he wasn't blocking, but it would have broken his key entirely if he was blocking. So that's how you get through human enemy blocks. Show you the Sloth. So Sloth, all three status effects right there. There we go. Should break the key. Oops, he got out of the way. There we go. Broke the key. And then I'll show you the last one, Confusion. There we go. Oops, it didn't get it. Usually it does. There we go. Or corruption, rather. Right, so you've got an instant corruption effect on the enemy right there. If you do want to, again, if you're having difficulty getting the parry off like I do, you can always slot that on, for example, Serpent Sweep, or I would probably not do High Stance. I would probably do Serpent Sweep here, and then put Corruption on mid stance, right? But it's up to you how you want to do it, but you can see the power of this. You can stack pretty much any status that you want almost instantly in one rotation. Know which enemies you're fighting, and you can pretty much tear them apart. So that's it for the build. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you back for the next one. I'm going to see what happens. I think this is just the build that I'm going to use for Dream of the Demon. I might do a playthrough of Dream of the Demon. I was doing one earlier. Decided to re-record those if I'm going to do it. We'll see. Once I make it through all of the missions again, because I'm a little bit rusty, I may do that. But otherwise, keep an eye out for another build video, maybe for the next DLC. That's it for me. Take care. Good luck.